Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this markup. Before I speak in support of the amendment and the legislation, I'd like to echo the comments of Ranking Member Johnson. Because of the importance of establishing a legislative record, I would have preferred to have considered this legislation through regular order. Despite that, I'm pleased that we're moving this important bill forward. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, for his willingness to work with me on an amendment that makes some minor modifications to the legislation we're considering today. Authorization for the programs under the Harmful Algal Bloom Research and Control Act expired in 2010, so the passage of this reauthorization is long overdue. The rapid overproduction of algae can have devastating effects on aquatic plants and animals as well as on human health. These effects can translate into negative outcomes for coastal and Great Lakes ecosystems and communities that depend on fishing, shellfish harvesting, and tourism to sustain their economies. A conservative estimate is that harmful algal blooms cost the U.S. coastal communities at least $82 million each year. However, the impacts of harmful algal blooms are not confined to coastal communities. In fact, last year in Oregon, lakes, ponds, and reservoirs experienced harmful algal bloom events, and they were closed to protect human health for a combined total of more than 700 days. While research has helped advance our understanding of and response to harmful algal blooms, the frequency and duration of these events and subsequent hypoxic conditions are on the rise. This bill directs NOAA to develop and implement a national strategy that takes a regional approach to helping communities understand, predict, control, and mitigate harmful algal blooms and hypoxia events. It will not only improve coordination, but also assess the program's activities to ensure that we're prepared for these events and we're able to respond in an effective manner. This will become increasingly important as coastal populations increase and changes in the environment, such as warmer water temperatures, have the potential to alter the growth, toxicity, and geographic distribution of algal blooms. Senate Bill 1254 is similar to legislation passed by this committee and the House in a bipartisan manner in the 111th Congress. The stakeholder community has been calling for the reauthorization of this critical program and the continuation of the good work being undertaken by NOAA. I'm pleased that Congressman Posey and I were able to come together to advance this bill today by offering this bipartisan amendment. The amendment provides clarification and responds to a number of suggestions offered by our colleagues on the Natural Resources Committee, which has joint jurisdiction over these programs. I also want to recognize Ocean Champions for their assistance in crafting this legislation. Specifically, this amendment clarifies that the bill does not establish any new programs or regulatory authority, and that research grants awarded under the program must be peer-reviewed. The amendment also ensures that state and local governments, along with other stakeholder groups, are involved in efforts to reduce harmful algal blooms and hypoxia. Because freshwater ecosystems are also susceptible to HABs, the amendment makes certain that the plan to address harmful algal blooms and hypoxia events in the Great Lakes is cost-effective and technically feasible. And finally, the amendment addresses concerns about the transfer of funds between Federal agencies involved in the program's task force without congressional approval by striking the section authorizing interagency funding. This amendment is the product of discussions between the majority and the minority and between Mr. Posey's office and my office, and I appreciate the staff for their hard work on this. It is a good bipartisan amendment that improves the bill and ensures an effective program. I urge my colleagues to support the amendment and the underlying bill. The more we fully understand when and where harmful algal blooms occur and how they respond to a changing environment, the better equipped we will be to manage these events and reduce the environmental and economic harm they cause. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you.